Hi, my name is Nell Sanders and I've just graduated from Musicians Institute. I was on the Independent Artist Programme for 6 months. I work under the name SKYDANC3R, and today I'm going to be showing you how I use Arturia's V Collection 4 in my music. And special thank you to Musicians Institute in Hollywood who have provided this lovely studio for us today. I'm going to pull up a project. It doesn't have a name yet, so we'll call it Fred. Okay, so here we go. I started with this line here, this line of melody. And so what I do is I'll open up one track and then I'll scroll through a few different sounds. You can access the menus here. You can see different instruments. And then this is a sub-menu. And again, this is another sub-menu. And you can use these arrows to scroll. So that's just really easy to get started. Just a software instrument channel. And start playing with the MIDI keyboard through that. So I did that and it came up with this little melody which I've looped, and for some reason it's in 7/4 timing, so we'll just stick with that. So this is what it sounds like. Okay, I'll show you now which other sounds you can also have and how easy it is. I've saved this channel strip setting so that I know I can always go back to it, which is really helpful. And you can also save the instrument settings through using these. So I'm just going to loop this here. And then I'm just going to go to a different section. Try. That's quite nice. And then all this other stuff opens up and you can play around with it. That's a very basic example of what you can do with that. So I found this, we'll just reset it. That's back to the original one that I found this morning. So next what I did is I made a new track beneath it, which is where this bass is, so just use that button and then Option drag, do that. And then Option drag the selected, bring it down. So this is how I created this bass, which I'll unmute. I'll delete that. And then I'll open up this edit window. So I took this sound, Option drag it down, and open up. And I wanted to try a bass instrument. So that's how the bass instrument sounds with the melody. I also dropped it down to octaves here, which doesn't show up because it's already saved as that. But I used the notes here. I deleted all the excess ones. Just to create a really simple bass. That's not going to clash with the melody. You can hear the second one's, this one is lower because it's been transposed. You can see there, transpose -12. You just click up, down, click really far down. It's a little bit too low, so we'll stick with 12. Okay, so, and again, then choose the different instruments by, we've got the basses loaded here. This is our original one. I'll just loop this section so you can hear it. And then you can click through. See what these ones sound like. And I also bring the noise up on the bass level usually just because it's easier to hear it when you want to hear that and the melody together. And then using these arrows to click through. So I'm just going to show you one thing that I find really useful in Logic, which is really, really helpful, especially for these long synth sounds. And that's File, Project Settings, MIDI, Chase, and click on the notes, and that says Sustained. So that means that the notes will play from wherever the cursor is, even if it's not at the beginning, because usually they play only if the cursor hits the beginning of the note. So that's a really good setting to know. See, as you can see, oh, started from the loop. So if we take the loop off, it will play from wherever the cursor is. Okay, so we've been through a few of the bass instruments here. We'll go back to the one that I originally had, which I saved as a channel strip setting. Okay, so next I wanted to add a beat. So I used the Spark. The Spark is Arturia's drum machine. And as you can see, we've got the bank, the patterns, sequencer, tuned song, and we'll go back to pattern. This is the one from earlier that I started using. And now I'm playing the drum machine. I'll bring the bass volume back down and I'll bring this up. Just leave that drum. Okay. So we're just going to loop this drum section so it doesn't go any further. Very simple sequence, this one. And as you can see, I like to make things really simple when I'm starting so that I can create a lot of different instruments and then I can go back and fill in more details later. But I like to get a track done really quickly and then go back and edit as much as I need. This is extra simple actually for me, but there we go. So you've just got a bass drum and the synth noise. So for the bass drum, we have the automation here, so we've got velocity selected, and you can just change those up or down. You can make that quieter. And then the synths. I'm already pretty happy with those. So for the drum machine, this noise, you have the instrument parameters here, and you can change the pitch. So on 617, when I move these, I always make sure that I try and remember what it was before so I can go back to it easily. So 617. So you can change the pitch back to 617. Yeah. And then the oscillator mix as well. You can move that up or down. And then the cutoff, a bit too noisy. Bring it up again. Try and get it about the same position as it was. These instrument parameters you can also change here, so you can put the resonance up and down, and you can change it to whichever. Go. And so you can just play around a lot with it and create some good sounds and make it your own. And then the sequencer here, to export the sounds, what I did was you can have either audio or MIDI, so I prefer the audio. So I'll drag out another section so you can see it. Just pull this out. As you can see, it creates a new track. Just going to turn that off. Because it's a funny timing, if I loop it, just hide that. It actually, because it's in 7/4, to bring it back, so it'll stay the same pattern, just bring it back there. That sounds a bit different because for some reason this automatically preloads to this. So we'll say reset channel strip. And I'll mute these, so. Okay, so you can hear the drum machine there. So once you have a sequence that you like, you can export it very easily. I prefer audio, so pull this down. It creates a new track automatically. There you go. For some weird reason, my computer automatically has this channel strip setting, so just click reset. And we can play. Okay, and now we can loop this. And because it's actually 7/4 timing, I'm going to pull this back, and then all the divisions land at the end of each section. And to export this as a MIDI file, just the same thing again, drag it and drop it, and there you go, it creates a new instrument track, but I don't want that, but you might want that. There we go. So that's a very simple explanation of Spark 2. It can do a whole load of other things as well. Okay, so now we have the drum machine in. I decided I wanted to make a harmony. So what I did was I copied the melody file, made a same track, option dragged everything down, and then I always colour code stuff when it's the same instrument but a different pattern, because then you can get lost otherwise. And I just start doing that again. Okay, so now I want to make a harmony track to go with this. I'll get the melody and create a new track that's using the same instrument, and then take a section, option drag it down, and I colour code it here. I use a slightly different shade so we don't get confused with the one I did earlier. And mute that one. So we'll loop this. At the moment they're exactly the same. And then what I did was drag this one up. And then I rearranged a few of the notes so that then you can get a different harmony. So it's really easy to move them around. You could just delete some if you don't want it, undo. And so this is a way to just use the same instrument but get a bit more depth to your track. Okay, so at the moment everything's the same as the melody track, but I wanted to move this one from here up. And this is what I did this morning, and I'll make him stop. Yeah. And I made a few other changes as well. They're very easy to make, as I'm sure you know. And I'll mute this. Okay. So I'll just delete that track because now you can see the harmony up here. So it's the same instrument and just slightly different arrangement. And a different colour, just to remind you, it's good to colour code stuff. I usually colour code everything once I'm quite into a track, and I'll have the melody and the verses and chorus in pink or purple. Drums and percussion are usually orange. I usually keep the vocal tracks the same right until the very end. And then any extra like intros or outros or special things are usually aqua, or turquoise or some in-between colour. Okay, so these are different sections of the track, and I'll just play this from here, and then I added a shaker as well, so you can just get, I added the shaker from the loop. So now we've got the melody we started out with, some bass, very simple. We can go back and edit everything later, but it's just a basic structure. We have the audio that we exported from the drum machine, and we have a harmony up here, and then I also added a shaker at the end. This is just a loop from here. That's number 3, and just like normal, just chuck that in there, again with a weird channel strip. Reset. So just added that. Actually, I did some EQing on that, so you know how to add loops. It's fine. So altogether it sounds like this. Okay, so for me that's quite a good starting point because I've got a few instruments down, I've got different melodies going on, and I've got a little bit of texture. So once I've got to this stage, I get to arranging it into different parts, and then I'd start with some more fun stuff like automation and EQing. And I've actually saved a separate project file, which I'll show you where I've done some automation. So here we have the project, which is the same as the one we were working on. I've just added a couple of things and brought it into a new project here. And this is really where we get into the fun stuff with automation and playing around with the synths. I'm going to show you everything just on here on the computer, but you can use the MIDI keyboard and program it, so you can use the buttons and things on there as well. So here's the original one. And then what we can do is open up this and then start playing around with these different things here. I'll just create a loop. Go and put it into latch mode, and then as you start writing things in with these little buttons, you can see it. Just make sure you can see everything. There you go. So you can change the attack. The decay, and it just keeps looping and writing. And you just keep going over and over, and sometimes it doesn't always have to sound good, because what's important is that you have all these written in now, and you can do this for as long as you want. So if you go down here, you can see everything that we've written in has all been recorded. Before you do anything, take it out of latch mode, put it in read mode, so that you're not going to change anything that you don't want to change. So you might want to just draw it through there, or just make a nice smooth progression. So this is kind of when it gets really fun and kind of creative, and you can really make the sounds your own when you're using this automation. And it's really fun the way that Arturia have, the synths up here, and you can see everything. It's very easy to change stuff. I'm just using the trackpad. When you have a MIDI keyboard, which I was using earlier, you can then program these by using Command L, and you can then learn which channels. So I think my first one here, cut off, that's learnt by my MIDI keyboard already. And then obviously this is just one synth that in the collection. That's what we just made just now. I'm just going to hide it and mute that and unmute the automation so you can hear all the different things that I did this morning. And I'll bring this down, you can see the different automation channels. Go from here. Okay, so that's really just the beginning, and that's a really great way to get started. And we talked about how you add the instruments and how to choose different instruments and then how to automate them. So I hope you have a lot of fun with that. Okay, so here we go. And this piano line here, this is what I started with. So I was playing a MIDI keyboard and I used the Logic Steinway grand piano preset. I'll just solo that so you can hear it. Has a lot of reverb on it. So I came up with that chord progression, and then because I've grown up playing the piano, I find it easy to work using a piano preset first to decide on a chord structure, and then once that's recorded, I'll then start experimenting with different sounds and synths. And then, so what I did was copy and paste this track by adding an extra track, copying it down, option drag, and just solo that. So, and just so I can show you what I did, go here, AU Instruments, Arturia, and this one, CS. Okay, so we have a different synth up now, and you can, just like before, choose the different sounds you want. Exactly the same, but they have a few different other options. I'll just close that and delete that. And I'll unmute this and I'll solo these two so you can hear them together. I really love this sound, it's great. So this is the setting for it. Obviously move things around here. I'm just going to save that channel strip setting. So setting, save channel strip setting as song's called Take Flight, instrument 1. So if we change anything, then we can always revert it back to that. Just play around. You don't have to know what you're pressing. It's all fine. Okay. I'll just change it back. There we go. So that's very simply how I used the Arturia collection to get that synth sound, and then I also used it for the bass. I have two different basses here, possibly some others. I have a slightly different, same instrument, different arrangement. And I'll just mute the drum for now so you can hear the bass. So I'll just play this with the bass as well. I'm just going to raise the volume up. It's all got automation, so we'll do it like this, just to make sure you can hear it. Okay, and I'll mute the drummer. Okay, so there's the bass, and I just got that instrument. It's the same synth, just a different instrument. To make the bass sound, I just created a new track, option dragged one of these sections, edited it, and then I just squeaky took out the high end. So I just had the basic notes, the root notes there. Okay, I'll just delete that. So we can go back to the one that's here. And then there were some other bass sections. Sorry. And then whilst we have this track, we open up. Sorry. Just going to save this channel strip setting. Save channel strip as. And I'll save this one as well. This is just really useful so you know that you have your preferences saved. When you go and change stuff, you can go back to it. So you can go in and find different bass instruments. Same as before, we'll loop a section. And there you go, but we'll go back to the one we had before. Like this one. And then again, for the, I'll take the automation off so you can see it. These are just long sustained notes. With a different bass instrument. So we got some really good sounds. We were really happy with that for that track, and that's how I used it in that track with the other Logic instruments. So that's how I used the Arturia V Collection 4 for this project. We're really excited about this song that I'm collaborating with another English girl for. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to Arturia for the V Collection 4. I highly recommend it, and I hope you have a lot of fun if you do try it out.